Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. David Abram here as always, and in today's video I wanted to briefly touch up on a rather confusing topic to the newcomers lately, and that is MGTOW and ghosting. A lot of people I've noticed as of lately on Sandman's videos, particularly the one about fathers going their own way, is that there seems to be a little bit of confusion between the two. MGTOW and ghosting are intertwined and related to one another, and they both fit under the subject of the red pill on some level, but they're not exactly the same. In fact, they're not the same. And in today's video I just sort of wanted to briefly discuss that, compare and contrast the two, and sort of, if I can, clear up the confusion. And to start off, I'm gonna start with MGTOW. We all know as fellow MGTOWs that MGTOW is essentially walking away from the rat race, the game as we like to call it, such as getting, intertwined in these long-term committed relationships with women. MGTOW essentially puts their foot down to that and says, no, I'm going my own way and I'm doing my own thing. Now, a person can be MGTOW, not be part of the rat race or the game or the mating game, and still be a contributing member of society. So this is when I'm going to talk about ghosting, because ghosting is just the opposite of contributing to society. Ghosting is walking away from society, and what that means is basically sort of like the off-grid life, living off the grid, not really tied down to any one specific place. Things like you see in the movies, no telephone, no address. It's sort of like that. You're ghosting because you're not laying out on a map anywhere. You're sort of like one of those vagabonds. You're a nomad, if you will. In fact, it's exactly like a nomad in a sense. You may be here for a little while, but then a few weeks down the road or a few months, pack up shop and move on. You're never permanently really settled down anywhere. And because of that, you don't have things like an address or an IP address or anything of that nature. Or maybe you'll have a combination of a few and not have the others. But essentially, ghosting is walking away from society, and MGTOW is walking away from women. So I think it's a little bit of an importance to understand the differences between the two. Now, like I said, there are very close similarities between the two, because they're both under the categories of red pillars, who've come to realize that things are not as they appear, and there's a bigger picture happening. But they're not the same. And the reason I brung this up is because in the comments section on Sandman's videos about fathers going their own way, I don't remember the exact name of the YouTuber, but he mentioned something about paying mortgage on a house, and how if you're paying mortgage on a house, isn't MGTOW supposed to be about having no obligations to anyone other than yourself? Well, you have an obligation to the government, so wouldn't you also be exempt from MGTOW? And that's where the confusion comes in, because no, you can own a house, own property, and yes, you can make down payments on a house or pay mortgage on a house and still be a MGTOW. You can still have a bank account and still be a MGTOW, because MGTOW is walking away from the mating game, not society necessarily. Now, there are MGTOW who do that, but that's not exactly what MGTOW is. So, just to sort of clear up a little bit of confusion I've noticed as of lately in a few videos, MGTOW and ghosting are related, but they're not the same. A person can still take a white-collar job, even a corporate job if that's what they like to do. They can still, have a bank account. They can still make down payments on a house, own property, pay their taxes, this, that, and the third, and still be MGTOW. They're not ghosting because they're still contributing to society, or they're still at least a part of some aspects in society. Maybe not all aspects of society, but they're still somewhat a part of some aspects in society. But they're still MGTOW. if they, you know, are not involved in a long-term committed relationship such as marriage and don't have children, this, that, and the third, they can still qualify as MGTOW. So I just sort of wanted to clear that up because it can be a touchy subject, and I do understand that some newcomers, you know, might have a general confusion on that. So I hope this video sort of cleared that up a little bit. Yes, they are very close to each other, but they're not the same. Sandman once quoted it in his video, MGTOW is walking away from women, ghosting is walking away from society. So I don't know if that helped clear it up or not, but I do hope it did. So for any newcomer who, you know, encounters these two terms interchangeably, just know they're not the same. MGTOW is walking away from long-term committed relationships with women, and ghosting is walking away from society altogether. So I think it's important for newcomers alike and even fellow MGTOWs to just sort of grasp this concept. They're both under the categories of red pillars, but they're not the same. It's just like red pill men versus MGTOW. And I'm probably going to do a separate video about this, but to get the gist of it, a person can be married and still be a red pillar, but not a MGTOW. And a MGTOW is a MGTOW and can be a red pillar. So essentially, just to really verify what I'm saying, is that a MGTOW can be a red pillar, or a red pillar can be a MGTOW and be married, and the MGTOW can be a red pillar and not be married, but they can't be married. So yeah, a married man can be a red pillar, but a married man cannot be a MGTOW. That's the best way to describe it. Sorry about that. But that's for another video. I'll cover that in a separate, recording. And I just wanted to sort of clear that up a little bit, the differences between the two, MGTOW and ghosting, because they're not the same, and I've noticed that some people have a tendency to group both of them together or confuse one with the other, So, what are your thoughts on this? Like, subscribe. If you have any other thoughts, if I missed anything, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and cheers. Have a nice day.